What the Mum podcast. My name is Maria Newman and I will be your host. Every mum to be knows that as soon as she becomes a mum, her world will change forever. Everyone is keen to give you advice based on their own experiences. Other mums delight in sharing their horror stories so that new mums are better prepared for what might happen. The lack of sleep, feeling exhausted most of the time, living in bodies with even more wobbly bits and never having any privacy. But everyone's story is unique. Everyone's experience is personal. On this podcast, I will be sharing real stories told by mums like you and I about their experience of motherhood and how life changes when you become a mum. This podcast is about showing you that you're not alone. We may not be in the same boat, but we are experiencing a similar storm. I hope these stories will inspire you to do what you want, be who you want to be. Anything is possible if you really want it and if it is really important to you. If you want to find out more about me and who I am, check out my website, mummyinabreak.co.uk. However, for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this podcast episode. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. During this podcast series, I will be interviewing 6 awesome women who will inspire you with their stories of what I'm calling changing direction. My guest today is Nemisha, who I had the pleasure of working with during 2021, which was only last year, and who has helped me a lot with my mindset. I wanted her to be part of this series because, similar to me, she has changed direction. She hasn't always been a coach. Through her story, you will see that life doesn't have to be a straight path. The path you are on will bend, twist and turn, and if you let it, it will take you to where you are meant to be. Thanks, Nemisha, for joining me today.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Oh my gosh, I forget sometimes what one has done. It's like, yeah, there was a story before.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, Nemisha, tell us, what is your story? Tell us about who you are, what led to your change in direction, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, first of all, who I am is an actually normal human being, mum of 2 beautiful kiddos, a girl who's nearly going to be 9 and a little boy who's 5, and a wife. So I have all the titles in addition to being the CEO of my business, which I took up in 2019. And so the story really comes from that time. I was in corporate for 18 years, so very similar to yourself, also in aviation. So I worked for air traffic and joined straight out of university and had multiple careers along the way and kind of got immersed in corporate life, had the 2 kiddos, got married, did all the things. But really for me, after having Shay, which was my the little boy, I started to question things and I felt like there was more, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And of course I had all the drama associated to, yeah, but what would you do? Kind of golden handcuffs, being in a corporate environment. And I didn't know, genuinely, I didn't know anything outside of the company that I worked for. So anyway, I went back after maternity leave. Shay was 1. With a bit of a time gap. So I kind of gave myself 3 months, 4 months leading up to the next financial year and said, okay, I'll give it this long and then we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I didn't get my act together either. I got immersed, carried on. But then we went on holiday and out of nowhere, of course, I got a little gift wrapped in sandpaper. And that was 3 different viruses in one go. Out of nowhere, I was all well. But came back very, very sick. And initially it was just like 1 week, 2 weeks. Then I was written off. I was given a sick note for a month. And it just went on and on and on. And like genuinely in hindsight, I do see it as a gift wrapped in sandpaper. And it was God saying to me, like, stop, slow down, like, seriously, I've given you many opportunities to go figure this out and you haven't. Now go figure this out. And so I spent best part of 6 months being off sick at my kitchen table, immersed in wellness, because the first thing I had to do was get better, and just spent so much time with myself. And so, yeah, this is where I discovered, taking care of yourself is more important than anything we can be doing, because it's the whole oxygen mask analogy, right? If you don't put your mask on first, how can you help other people? And for me at the time, if I couldn't get out of bed, I was no good to my kids, let alone any element of work. And so there was such realization, and genuinely it was an opportunity for me to reconnect with myself, kind of discover who I am, what I'm about, what's the future hold for me. And thankfully I got better, even though the doctor said that you should be getting better, there's nothing we can do. And so it was mind over matter, and it was mind, body and soul is what I immersed myself in. I'm quite spiritual anyway, but I went down the avenue of mind. Being my work, and that's what I did to get myself better. I left Nats, mutual terms, all good, qualified as a coach, and then set up in April 2019. So this is what happened.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you are where you are today, having completely, I think that's the thing, something always happens, whether it's big or just little whisperings that give us a clue to say, just need to take stock of what's happening. Because maybe you need to turn left or turn right. Or in your instance, it was just like traffic lights, stop.
Yeah. And you know what I think it is, like, again, I can say it with so much confidence, it's like, seriously listen to your gut and your instinct, and listen, instead of just like la 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 la, it's just like must do A, B and C. It's like, no, it's like so loud and clear. But I think again it was what was going on in my head that was preventing me and talking me out of something that, a bit like you, right? It was like, I've got a plan, don't know what I'm going to do. What would you do anyway? And you need to, like, there's a financial commitment and a you fall off the cliff and la, la, la. And it was all that logical thinking that stopped me. It's like, must have plan. And this is where I started off with, and it's like, nah. And then I guess the plan was made for me. But like, this is what I would say, and I say to people, is like, don't wait for a life event to happen, because I'm super grateful that I got better from it. There's some people, like, there's some big stuff that happens that is life-changing, but you don't have to wait for that. Like, you can honor whatever signs and niggles that you have in you to do something different and be something you want to be.
And it's funny because we obviously, not funny, obviously, but we see in the press lots of news that tells us of people who have gone through massive life-changing experiences, which then lead them to doing something different, because all of a sudden they realize, life's too short. I am more courageous than I realize. I'm going to go and do this thing. But it shouldn't take that life-changing moment for us all to wake up and go, we have so much capability. We have so much potential. And we are braver than we give ourselves credit for. So just have a go. Take that small step towards the thing that deep down inside, that you want to go and do, but as of yet there isn't that like bleeding neck thing that forces you to look at life differently. And how much easier would it be to go after what you really want if you've got time, rather than something happening to say, oh my word, I haven't got time, quick, I because I've realized I haven't got time. It's not that it turns into a panic, but time all of a sudden takes on a different meaning. So, do it now, where there's that calmness about you, and your mind is more open and can like see things that are there in front of you, just waiting you to grab hold of.
Yeah. And I guess, like, for me, what I would say is the difference is the chapter of pain that you have to then experience. And for me, it was like, I completely lost my voice. And it was all here, you know, like laryngitis and other infections. I mean, like, genuinely, I couldn't speak. And that was my suffering, or like, that was my pain that I went through in the end. And I'm, you know, who knows, like, as I say, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you don't have to go through a pain in order to go do what you really, really want to do. You know, it's like you get to do that anyway, whenever you choose. Now, there will be some sort of, you know, I say pain, but, you know, like you say, braveness or some courage. You know, you're going to have to access some sort of emotions in order to pursue it. But it is so worth going through those undesirable emotions versus some harder hardship, or, you know, something that's out of your control. So yeah, but, you know, either way, there is a story to tell. You know, I think you said you can turn the ship or something. Like, there is a story to tell, and you get to tell it in your way, unique to you, in terms of pursuing the thing that you really, really want to do, which was your dream.
And I'm a great believer in how we behave, the actions we take, the words we use, obviously has a huge impact on our children, because we are like the biggest influence in their lives, whether it's them looking up to us and going, oh my word, flip it, my mum, she's like amazing, or yeah, I wouldn't have done it like that, mum. Maybe you would. Either way, you know what, it's, you know, it's the positive with the not so positive. So how do you think your change in direction has influenced your children?
Oh my gosh, I guess the first thing I would say is just being present and just being able to be a mum. Because one of the reasons that I had all the questioning after my second was I was on this corporate rat race, and I was juggling, and I was multitasking. I was on the motorway, like on phone calls, and then dashing to get the nursery pickup, and then trying to cook dinner. You know, like, it was too much. And so, you know, leaving that life and creating this life that I now have, it just allows me to be. And I get to choose what mode I'm in, but I am so present for the kids. And I love that so much, because my experience was my parents always worked. They were in business, you know, always working in terms of growth and providing for the family. But, you know, we genuinely fended for ourselves a lot of what I remember. And that created a huge amount of independence. But equally, it's like, I missed my folks. Right? There's things that we didn't get to experience, or they weren't there for, or that we didn't do, you know, be it sports, be it music, whatever it might be. And like, I'm like, no, I'm here for you. Like, what are we doing today? And I made a few rules with myself that said, like, these are the things I'm committed to in relation to the children, you know, in terms of drop-offs and pickups, and going to Friday prayers, and being there for sports day, and being there for you know, performances and whatever it might be, Christmas, nativity, without the guilt, you know, because there's doing it and then there's doing it with guilt. And like, no, the guilt is optional. And like, we're not doing that, you know, it takes work. But it's like, why don't I get to be a mum? I'm privileged to be a mum, and so I'm going to exercise that privilege by showing up.
You know, I relate so much to what you've just said, because although we're not from the same culture, our cultures share so many similarities. And similarly, you know, my parents were working what seemed like 24/7, and the whole not there on sports day because they couldn't. And I understood it, and you accept it. And similar to you, I'm like, right, well, I want to be there without any condition, without having to ask for permission, and to sort of have the bits of my childhood that I didn't have, but it would have been nice to have them. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of things I have in my life now that I wouldn't have had, and I wouldn't have known if my mum and dad hadn't worked so hard. But it's it's a benefit for us that we can start that one step higher than where our parents started.
Yeah.
So it's taking what they've taught us in the whole, like, being independent, knowing about business and like dealing with people, and probably being a lot more mature earlier than maybe some of our peers.
Yeah.
So taking all of that great foundation and going, right, how can I make this even better for my children? And what's going to enrich their lives, but as well enrich my life? Because it's like we've said, we're not mums first, we are us.
We're
Being
human.
a mum is one of the roles we play. So it's got to be as much about us and what we need, as well as the wonderful children in our lives that bring us joy, as well as the challenges.
All the drama. For sure. And like now I see it, like 3 and a bit years in, I really see that especially my daughter, because she's the eldest and she's a bit of a mini me, as I'm sure Leah is for you, but like she sees how I operate, right? She sees the flexibility I have. She sees me taking care of myself, and doing the things I want to do. And like she will happily go and tell my husband, like, mum is the boss of her, like mum is the boss of what she does. And I love that, like, because it just creates such a an opportunity for her that says, like, do you know what, you get to do whatever you want to do. And like we're fortunate that like Steve's got the corporate life and that's what he does and that's fine, and she sees that, and then I've got this business life that I manage and do it from home, do it in my own way. Because like times she'll come out, it's like, mum, what did you do today? And I'll speak up what I did, and she's like, oh, and she's just like mesmerized by it. And I've got a sort of whiteboard here, and she'll go mimic a bit of coaching and a bit of training and all this, and it's just like, oh, I love this. This is been an example of what's possible, which I think is so needed in this generation that says, like, you do not have to conform to education, school, uni, this, that, get job, do this, and then you're stuck for 20 years. Like, no, don't have to do that.
And that is the biggest thing. So looking at our education system, and obviously this is not a podcast about our education system, but when schools were first around, and I didn't know this until like a few months ago, it was all about creating beings that would be ready to go and work in manufacturing. Because back when schools came about, that's what like work life was all about. So it fitted the purpose in which it was designed. That's not the case anymore. A lot of the jobs that are around at the moment just did not exist back then. Probably the majority of them didn't exist back then. So I think it's about teaching our children through what we do to be proud to be individuals in a compassionate, respectful way, because we all are here on this earth together. Therefore, we should have harmony, but that doesn't mean you can't have a different opinion. Accept yourself, flaws and all.
And like follow your passion, like find it as best as you can and go pursue that. And if it's not that, go use that as a springboard and go find the next thing, or the slight tangent, but go do what you love. Because I think that's the generation now. It's like, if they're doing what they love, like when I look at my kiddos, wowza, I mean, at a young age they are going to thrive, versus must go earn salary. And you're like, no, if that's not what you want to do, don't do that. Like, if you want to go be a yoga teacher, go be a yoga teacher. If you want to teach yoga on YouTube, go do that. See what happens. Like, the money will follow. if you're doing what you love, you'll do it from your heart, and whatever the reward and recognition is, it will come. And that's, yeah, I'm like strong believer of making sure they get that.
It's funny because I remember from my childhood the consistent message from my parents, because they, you know, that's how they were raised, was you work hard and you go and get a good solid job, because for their generation you wanted to find a job for life. You know, it was all about job security, because you want to know with as much certainty as possible that you can provide for your family. Whereas I think as time has evolved, we now know actually that if you're doing the thing, like you've said, Nemisha, I'm just repeating you, if you're doing the thing that you enjoy, the money will come. You would just, you know, just by doing and being, which are your words, I just love it.
It's so much more fun. Oh my God, like so much more fun. Like, why are we here otherwise? You know? Exactly. So you're like, why do something that is not fun? And like, you know, when you're doing something that's not fun, you know? So yeah, love that.
So what are, in your world, you're a business owner, you're a mum, you're a wife, you're a daughter. There are so many roles that we play, and it's all part of like doing the mummy juggle. What top 3 tips would you give mums who are listening to this and going, I'm just stuck in like the juggle, I don't know whether I'm supposed to turn left or right, I'm just surviving, and at the moment that's all I can do?
Do you know, like, genuinely, if they know that, that's a good thing, first of all. And then I would genuinely invite them to honor that awareness and pause, like literally stop. And they do that voluntarily, right? They don't need to wait for any drama to happen. Like, go stop and pause and really see what's going on. So if it's that element of overwhelm and juggling and all the things, it's like, just go sit with all of that and pay attention to the reality of where you find yourself and what is going on, so that you can see it. Because I don't know, like, and I've been there once upon a time, you know, and I know, and it's almost like you go in autopilot and like you're like in robot mode. You don't even know what you're doing, quite frankly, but you're doing it, and you're like, it's precision, if you're anything like me, right? And but you're so caught up in it that you can't even see A, what's going on, but B, who you're being. Like, you kind of lose this awareness of who you are. And so that would be the first thing. It's like, just pause, like take yourself away, like literally remove yourself, right? You know, have a time out. And ideally, you know, you're looking for some quality time. Isn't, you know, 5 minutes is fantastic in a given moment after you've done a bit of work in this area, you know, like self-development and personal awareness. But, you know, I'm talking, have a day out, go be with yourself, go reconnect with who you truly are, what fills you up, what's going on, what's not going on, you know, what's energizing you, what's draining you, like, what is it? So that you can see it all, and like either talk to somebody about it, or like, if it's with yourself, if you like to do this, unpack it, like write it down. If you're, again, like me, I like to journal, and just get it out of your head, and see. So in a long story, it's notice, really notice and see it. And then with that awareness, you have a choice, and it opens up choices for you that says, okay, now what? Do we stay here with how this is all going? Or what do I change? You know, something going to give. Do they change? Do we change? The environment change? You know, like, what next? And it doesn't have to be this massive grand thing. As you and I have often spoken about, it's your next best move. It's just asking yourself, with all that awareness, you can literally then go and ask yourself, what is my next best move? And your next best move may be, I need some more time to go figure this out. Fine, like, you know, negotiate with the other half and get the kiddos sorted or whatever, and go be with yourself. Because I think one of the main things I experienced being a mum and probably my own tendencies. I was always there doing for everyone else and everything else. And I must, like my success is if I ticked all the boxes for everybody. I showed up for everybody and everything, job done. End of the day, big tick. And yeah, it's like I was probably like on the ground on my knees because I hadn't really fueled myself. And it goes back to the same thing I said before. It's like you have to take care of yourself. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and juggling all things, largely is because, your bucket is really reduced, if not on empty. You're going to go fill up your bucket with some love and some attention and some care.
It's so important. And I think that's, so I hear a lot, and I have to bite my lip sometimes because like we've mentioned off air, sometimes people aren't ready to hear the message. But I hear a lot, I just haven't got time. I'm just too busy. And it's like, whoa, just wait a minute. Listen to what you're saying. You are the most important person in your life. If you are unable to function, the people around you who are busy trying to look after, they're going to miss you. So you have got enough time. You don't have to be as busy as you think you are. Make sure that you realise you are a priority. And I just think everything that you've said, people need to listen, and not just listen, hear it, and then when they're ready, action it.
Yeah, so true. And I've said it, you've probably said it, that the time thing, it is a story. It is absolutely a story, because time is a circumstance. We've all got the same time, no matter who you are, what you do, how famous you are, how successful you are, what job you do, we've all got the same time. But it's our thoughts about time that creates our reality, right? So if we're thinking we haven't got enough time, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be in urgency and graspiness and busyness and overwhelm and juggling, because you're approaching life from a place of, I haven't got time. I haven't got enough time. And honestly, it is one of my stories that I worked really hard on, because it was like the truth. It's like, yeah, but it's true. Like the sky is blue. I do not have enough time to do me or the things, everything I want to do. But then the realization came, it's like, oh, I got to stop doing some stuff that's not so important in order to do the things that are important. And that's what it is, like, I know it sounds like cliche about prioritizing things like that. It genuinely is. We have a set amount of time. What do you want to do with that time? And everything is not the answer, even though we want to, right? So yeah, like seriously, we've got to give ourselves grace and love and care and attention, just like we want our kiddos to do for themselves. Because they're sponges and they pick up on what we radiate. And I'm so conscious of that. So yeah, my time story is very protected to me. I try not to let it hold to show, because otherwise, and it does sometimes, especially the school run and other things. Come on, we're late. We've got your bag. It's going, like you're in this mode. And I hear myself and I'm like, oh, wow, this, even I don't like the sound of it, let alone what they're listening to. So just notice, honestly, just notice. There is so much power in first noticing what's going wrong. Zero judgment, zero, filtering. Just, it is what it is. But now you get to grow. Now you get to choose what happens. And that's the beauty of it.
And I think that is a perfect way to end this episode. Other than people listening, and maybe those watching, will be saying, Nemisha, she is a wise lady. I need to connect with her. I need to be in Nemisha's world. Yes, you do. Nemisha, make it easy for everybody. what's the best way people can connect with you?
Oh, best way people can connect with me is on Instagram, which is Nemisha Patel Owen, and also LinkedIn. So I have kind of this dual identity. It's like I have this corporate world of Nemisha, because that's where my corporate colleagues hang out. And then I have this really fun space where I go get to be me, a bit more visual and stuff on Instagram. So either I would love to connect with your beautiful souls and your community. So yeah, look forward to it.
Amazing. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you, Nemisha, for talking to me today and being so open and honest and sharing all your wonderful wisdom. And I'd like to say thank you for listening, and I shall see you next time, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast episode, and if you did, then of course please share it with other mums. I have lots more resources for you that will help you on your journey through life. Just visit my website to access them, which is mummyonabreak.co.uk. You can also find out details about my book, Busy. Take care and see you the next time.